People caught stealing, they would have their hands cut off. If people who were caught committing adultery, they would be stoned to death.
Hier geht's nicht ums Mittelalter, sondern den islamischen Staat. Und dieser Mann war mittendrin als Terrorist.
From beginning to end, I was working as a doctor for children. I didn't join the Islamic State.
Wir wollen herausfinden, ob das stimmen kann. Wir sind auf dem Weg in ein Gefängnis im Nordosten von Syrien. Die Behörden haben uns versprochen, dass wir hier mit einem Anhänger des Islamischen Staates sprechen können. Mehr Infos kriegen wir vorher nicht. Der Mann ist Australier und hat 2 Bedingungen. Wir dürfen sein Gesicht und seinen Namen nicht veröffentlichen.
For what reason are you sitting now here in the prison since 6 years?
I ask you the same question. What reason I'm here, I don't know.
So you don't know why you are in prison? So they didn't tell you or something?
Oh, who's going to tell you? No one speaks to you. You don't sit with anyone. You don't know why you're here. You don't know how long you're going to be here.
So you are kind of member of the Islamic State, or did I get it wrong?
No, it's a big misconception that everyone who came to Syria joined Dawla or was Dawla. So I didn't do training. I didn't give what's called bay'ah, which is, if you translate it, a Pledge of Allegiance.
Wir sind skeptisch. Dawla steht nämlich für Dawla Islamia, der islamische Staat. Das Wort benutzen meist nur Leute, die davon überzeugt waren, dass die Terrororganisation tatsächlich ein richtiger Staat war.
When did you decide to come from Australia to Syria?
Maybe in the beginning of 2014. By profession, I'm a doctor for children. And I saw what was going on in the news occurring in Syria, the revolution. So I came and I worked as a doctor. It was pretty apparent in the news that Syria was catastrophic. And I heard that a lot of the locals were fleeing from Syria, particularly the medical staff. So I was fit enough to come. I had enough experience, so I came.
And there was then not a religious reason for you to come here?
I didn't really need a religious reason. The religious reason, I suppose, it's not a religious reason, but it's a religious connection. The locals are Sunni Muslim.
Auch er ist Muslim. Und schön, dass er helfen will. Aber dass er dann ausgerechnet bei Extremisten landet, die weltweit Anschläge verüben? Kann das Zufall sein? Schon mal vorweg. Seine Reiseroute sagt was anderes. Dazu gleich mehr. Dass er auf eigene Faust ins Kriegsgebiet gereist ist, erklärt er jedenfalls so.
I sat interviews with Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders. And I told them in the interviews, I said, look, I'm Muslim and I'm Sunni and I want to go to Syria. They said, oh, we will see. When it came my directive to be sent, I was assigned to go to Africa. So I contacted them. I said, look, I told you I want to come to Syria. And they said, no, look, we've stopped for the next 12 or so months. We've stopped sending to Syria. It's either Africa or not. I said, khalas. I said, then leave it, close the subject. So I still had to continue my own path.
Laut einer Sprecherin von Ärzte ohne Grenzen hat er sich tatsächlich 2014 dort gemeldet. Sie hat auch bestätigt, dass er ausschließlich in Syrien eingesetzt werden wollte. Um unparteilich helfen zu können, können Ärzte ohne Grenzen solche persönlichen Wünsche aber nicht erfüllen. Er reist schließlich über die türkische Stadt Urfa nach Syrien und landet mitten im IS-Gebiet.
Why did you specifically enter that point and not maybe another part of Syria?
I didn't actually know how to come into Syria. I didn't have a plan. Because I was concerned about being involved with any group. I didn't really have an idea of what group to come for. And by chance, Dawla controlled that region that I came to. And there were only 2 cities to come through that I heard about from other people. So the only way to come into Syria at that point, when I came, was to end up in Dawla territory. But for me, it didn't make an issue if it was Dawla or the other groups at the time.
Dass dieser Weg der einzige gewesen sein soll, stimmt nicht. Und die Einreise über Urfa nach Tal Abyad war eine Standardroute von IS-Anhängern. Vom Grenzgebiet geht's für ihn nach Raqqa, in die selbsternannte Hauptstadt vom IS.
What did you do then when you arrived Syria?
From beginning to end, I was working as a doctor for children. So I was running emergency and the ward and the nursery. Majority is normal reasons children would come to hospital. Sickness or what it might be, premature birth, whatever it might be. And the other side is, yes, children coming in injured with amputations or burns. Every injury you can imagine, I've seen it.
Ansonsten war alles locker, sagt er.
You're completely free in Dawla. There's no issue. I got married. My wife obviously wears a niqab. I have a house. You know, I get house organized. I go to the hospital every day. If they need me to come after hours, they call me. There's a phone. It's a normal life. It's just a war zone.
Alte Propagandavideos vom IS zeigen aber, dass das Leben dort alles andere als normal war. Es gibt brutale Hinrichtungen und Verstümmelungen. Was hat er davon mitbekommen?
If people who were caught committing adultery, they would be stoned to death, yes. Or people who were caught stealing, which is in line with the religious side. If people caught stealing, they would have their hands cut off. So I was aware that was occurring. I'll be honest, I didn't see it. I saw a few people come in before getting their hands cut off because the surgeons prepare them to get their hand amputated. It's done publicly, but they come, they get anaesthetic so they don't feel anything. They get their arm tourniqueted so they don't feel anything. Then they go, they get their hand cut off, then they return back to hospital. The surgeon closes the wound, gives them pain relief, antibiotics.
Did you also have to do that, like give them anesthetics or deal with the wounds?
No, I don't have surgical experience.
Und was hält er von solchen Strafen?
Do you think it's right or wrong?
Well, right or wrong is not for me to argue. That's on the religious side. And if God says someone who steals that amount of something should have his hand cut off, who are you or me to argue that? That's their belief system. They do as they wish.
What is your feeling or your opinion about it?
I don't have an opinion on that, honestly. I can't argue on the separate it from Dawla. I can't argue it because it's a religious thing. And as I say, I'm Muslim, so I can't argue against my own religion. As if I'm arguing against God. It's blasphemy. I can't do that. If, for example, if you were Christian, I know you come from Germany, majority of people are Christian. If you are Christian and the Christian religion says don't do something, and then I ask what's your opinion of it, you can't argue it if it turns into blasphemy.
Wir sehen das anders. Muslime haben den Koran im Laufe der Zeit immer wieder neu interpretiert. Und die meisten islamisch geprägten Länder haben vorzeitliche Strafen wie das Handabhacken abgeschafft.
Do you think that's the right version of the Quran to say it like that?
That's the Quran as it is. Go into any shop and buy the Quran. There's no other version to it. That's what it says.
But in way of human rights, for example, it would be wrong.
If you want to open the book on human rights, we could argue both sides. What the West were bombing in Raqqa was definitely not alongside human rights. So getting a hand cut off is a small problem compared to how many hundreds and, not in one shot thousands, like in how many hundreds of children I would see injured from bombings who were innocent civilians from western plains.
So reagiert er also auf eine kritische Nachfrage. Er wechselt einfach das Thema.
At the end of the day, that person's going to get his hand cut. That's the decision, political level. To give medical help, yeah, I'm very happy they're giving medical help for that, rather than the person not get medical help. That's inhumane.
Nicht zu helfen nennt er inhuman, die Verstümmelung aber nicht. Steckt doch mehr dahinter?
If you wouldn't have done what they expect you to do, then yourself get imprisoned or like punished in some way.
Yeah, of course.
How would that...
Possibly killed.
So why do you voluntarily go to a state who, like, even if you just, like you say, like want to help children, for example, accept that they will harm you, maybe even kill you, if you don't get along with what they think is right?
The good thing is, it is I suppose, the benefit of my specialty, being a doctor for children, that doesn't really delve into the world of politics or the world of warfare. If I was a doctor for big people or a surgeon, it would be a problem because then I'm dealing with soldiers or officials. That's an issue, and I will always argue that. I came to do my job and I did my job and I was known to be a doctor for children. I was not a soldier.
Aber dann erzählt er von einem Video, in dem er mit einer Waffe zu sehen ist. Wir finden davon sogar einen Screenshot.
In 2017, Dawla made me do a video where I had to hold a clash. And they wanted me to send a message to the Muslim world outside and the Western world outside that they were going to sit tight in Raqqa. So they gave me a piece of paper. I had to try and memorize it. I played a bit with the words because some of those things were very dangerous in what they wanted me to say.
Bei unserer Recherche finden wir noch ein Video. Darin lobt er das Gesundheitssystem vom IS und fordert andere Ärzte dazu auf, ebenfalls nach Syrien zu reisen. Das Video wird vermutlich kurz nach seiner Ankunft Anfang 2015 aufgenommen. Die australische Ärztekammer reagiert und setzt seine Zulassung Mitte 2015 aus. Und die Polizei erwirkt einen Haftbefehl gegen ihn. Der Vorwurf: Mitgliedschaft und Rekrutierung bei einer Terrororganisation und unerlaubtes Betreten eines Kriegsgebiets. 2019 wird er in Bakus festgenommen. Aber nicht von Australiern, sondern den Syrian Democratic Forces. Das ist ein kurdisch geführtes Militärbündnis, das heute große Teile im Nordosten von Syrien kontrolliert. Sie sollen eher fortschrittlich unterwegs sein. Es gibt aber auch Vorwürfe über Gewalt und Willkür. Wann er vor Gericht kommt, ist unklar.
If you would have the chance to be free again and get out of the prison, what would you like to do and where would you like to live and in what kind of system?
Of course I want to see my family and my children and my parents.
Wo seine Frau und sein Kind im Moment sind, weiß er nicht. Und mit seinen Eltern hat er wohl auch keinen Kontakt.
So what did your parents think about you going here?
Well, they didn't know I was coming. I remember discussing with my mum. I touched on the subject. I wanted to test the water. I asked her if I could come to Turkey, to the border, to help the Syrian civilians. She said impossible. It's even close to a war zone. She said you'll not go. And she threatened me. She said if you go, I'll tell the authorities and I will have your passport cancelled. So family are not willing always to know you're coming to a dangerous situation, even though your intention is good.
Er spricht von guten Absichten und bestreitet, ein Mitglied des IS gewesen zu sein. Aber wir haben große Zweifel. Denn er hat selbst gesagt, er hat freiwillig auf dem Gebiet des Islamischen Staats gearbeitet, war dort angeblich als Arzt in die Strukturen eingebunden, hat geheiratet und kritisiert ihre grausamen Strafen nicht. Es gibt Hinweise, dass er nicht so zufällig dort gelandet ist, wie er behauptet. Und vor allem gibt es den Haftbefehl der australischen Polizei. Das heißt, die muss bei ihren Ermittlungen genug Informationen gesammelt haben, die für eine Mitgliedschaft beim IS sprechen. Ein Urteil kann aber natürlich nur ein Gericht fällen. Was sind eure Gedanken zu dem Mann? Abonniert unseren Kanal, wenn ihr mehr Videos aus Syrien und anderen Krisenregionen sehen wollt.